Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning, a Child Nexus podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today as we delve into a topic that is close to many hearts, dyslexia and the journey of empowerment and advocacy. My guest today is Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey. She is a dedicated advocate for dyslexic individuals and the founder and executive director of the Africa Dyslexia Organization. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness, advocacy, providing essential educational tools to teachers and parents, and offering support to individuals with dyslexia and related learning disabilities. She has a powerful story and is making a significant and positive change for dyslexic individuals across Africa. And I'm absolutely honored that she's here today.
Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Rosalin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You have no idea. I can't wait to have this conversation.
Me too. I mean, your tireless efforts in supporting, empowering, and advocating for individuals with dyslexia have not gone unnoticed. I've been following you on LinkedIn and following all of the things that you're doing on Instagram, and I'm really grateful for your presence here today. Thank you so much for being here. And I feel like your story really helps parents and educators see that when children get the resources and support they need, they can truly thrive and reach their full potential. And I would love to kind of start with maybe you sharing what made you dedicate yourself to supporting individuals with dyslexia and really being an advocate for them.
Oh, thank you so much for the question. Whenever someone asks me what really got you to be on this journey, they get a bit emotional. It's not a bit, a lot of emotion comes with it, but I have always struggled as a person in my academics. Right from the very young age I could remember, I know that I was different and different from my classmates, because here I was that they would teach and I don't understand, or they would teach and I can't reproduce it. When you ask me a question, I'm usually the last but one of the class. We do a lot of dictations in Ghana, and I would always get 0. And this continued throughout my teens. So up until the age of 17, where I started picking up words, the age before 17 was just me not knowing anything. I remember one time my father came to visit because I was living with my aunts, and he thought his daughter could read, and he gave me this newspaper, read. And I was staring at the newspaper and I couldn't read. And he was so surprised that I couldn't read. And I failed. So basically at the 17 in Ghana, you need to write a certain type of exams called BEC, Basic Education Certificate Examination. This is the qualification that can get you to go to high school. So if you don't pass very well in these exams, you don't get opportunity to go to high school. And I remember I was almost clocking 18 when I sat for these exams. But even before that, in Ghana, to write that exam, you should be 14, 15. But here I was 17, almost turning 18. I was still in junior high school. And so my parents were like, you have to just register, or you have to try and finish junior high school at least. And so they spoke to the school that, please, can you let our daughter finish this junior high school? And the school was like, well, we can, but unfortunately, we can't allow her to write the exams as part of her schoolmates in this school. Their reason was she's going to taint the result because the school is a high performing school. They get very good scores, so they were afraid if I am part of it, I'm going to spoil their reputation, and so they rejected me. I stayed in the school, but my parents took me to a nearby village, and I registered with a public school. And I vividly remember during the time of these exams, I could barely pronounce or read anything on the paper. I would say 70 or 80% of the things I didn't know what was it. And so it came out at the end and I had failed poorly. And there was no way any high school will admit me in Ghana. And so I didn't go to that high school where all my friends were going to high school. I was still at home trying to navigate what I would do with my life. And so in that phase, the only choice that was presented to me is maybe go and learn a trade or maybe travel and be with my grandmother in another town. And a friend of mine who was just a year older than me was like, no, I think you're good with something. You love to cook. We come to the house, you host us, you cook. It comes to you naturally. Why don't you go to a culinary school? And so I spoke more in details with him. And when I got the confidence, I told my dad I'd like to go to a culinary school. He, at the moment, was like, oh my goodness, are we going to waste another money for 3 years for you to go to school and what will come out of you? But he said, I'm giving you one last chance. And so he gave me that one last chance by enrolling me into this culinary school where immediately we got there, he already announced to the school that I'm a troublesome child. I am not good academically. And so they have to watch my movements in the school and just manage me for the next 3 years. So my dad with me. And so I started the school with everybody have this mindset about me being troublesome child and not good academically. But little did they know that that was actually the turning point for me, was that school was where I needed. For the first time in my life, I was in an environment that I enjoyed learning. I was in an environment I woke up and very excited. I want to go to the classroom. I now understand why I was enjoying that school than I enjoyed in all the schools I had been to, because I'm a visual and a kinesthetic learner. And so I learned by doing, by seeing this combination. And so I started becoming very good in school. And at the end of the school, when my dad came for me, they called him and said, are you referring to this child of yours that she's awesome, she's not good academically and all that? And I said, yeah. Abigail, that's how she is. And said, look at her result. She's very good. I mean, she's super good with what she's doing. And so my dad was so shocked. And I was shocked as well because, Karen, that was the very first time, if I would remember, a school director had said something positive about me. It was always, I'm in trouble here fighting. I'm in trouble here doing this. She's lazy. She's not academically good. She's this, she's that. But this first time, a director said, I'm good. And when I heard those words that she's good, I decided for the rest of my life, anything I touch, wherever I go, everybody will like me and they would say, I'm good and I will make a difference. And so that was how my journey through school happened. And I finished 3 years and started working in the hospitality industry very early. But I always was like, I really want to go to a university. And so when Ghana, when you're at mature student age from 25, you can write for mature student entrance exams. And if you pass, you go to the university. And so when I got to that age, I started studying for 2 years and I wrote the exams. I passed and went to the university. But I was very deliberate because I still knew that my challenges were still there. It hadn't changed much. So I decided to do a course that I was familiar with because I had been in the hospitality industry for like over 5 years or more. I understood the nitty gritties of hospitality. When it comes to cooking, I understand. When it comes to hospitality, I have immersed myself in the industry. So I decided to take the course hospitality management, and that's what I did for my first degree. I came out with a second class, very good grade, went back to work in the industry and continued to do my master's. And actually at the master's level, I was awarded as the best master's student in Switzerland. So I'm giving you this background to just give you why I am on this journey because 7 years ago that somebody just asked me, are you dyslexic? Because this person has been looking into my work. One of the lecturers I was working with and asked if I'm dyslexic. And I was like, what is that? And so he handed me the International Dyslexia Association website and asked me to go and read more about it. And there's a screener on the website, and I ticked. There was no question I didn't take because everything was describing me. And so after that, I asked with this person, and he said, I think you're dyslexic. You should have a formal assessment. And so I got a formal assessment done, and the person who did my assessment was like, how did you even manage to get to your master's level? Severely dyslexic. How was growing up like? And I narrated everything to him. And so, to cut the long story short, when I came back to Ghana during the pandemic and I started asking people what they know about dyslexia related learning differences, and my dad, to the shock of you, my dad, who is now my dad, he's my uncle, but my dad is an educationist, a very good one, of course. I asked him, and he said he doesn't know. And I said, wow, imagine how many students you guys have written off because you don't know some students may be dyslexic in this country. And through my work, I travel also on the continent a lot. So I ask the questions anytime I'm in an African country, what do you know about dyslexia, related learning difficulties? And it's same like Ghana here. So though myself, I'm not an expert in dyslexia, I decided to reach out, use their virtual medium to reach out to anybody I can find on LinkedIn, wherever, who I know are experts in what I want to do and reach out to them that I need help. I want to do this, but I don't know my way out. And together with a few people, we started in the middle of 2020. And because it was pandemic, we could utilize the virtual medium and train a lot of people. So, introductory training. So far, we've trained over 3,000 teachers. We've done extensive television, radio, and we took the average viewership and listening. That means our awareness reach has gone to over 10 million people. And we keep doing that. So now we are at the phase where we feel like the awareness is great, but now we need to train teachers that can really provide support for students with learning difficulties because we don't have them. And so still students are being caned like I was beaten most of the time. Parents are thinking if my child is not good, then it's some spiritual thing to do with it. Let's go to the church and pray for the child, or somebody is bewitching my child. This is the idea of a lot of parents on the continent here. And so this is what fuel my energy to even put my hospitality consulting job on the side most of the time goal to really advocate and create awareness about dyslexia because I don't want any child to miss out on life. I saw some of my mates who were in the same brackets as me. Some of them, nothing can be written about them to date because they're somewhere in some village with a very difficult life they are living. But some of them were also very good, like in sports, athletics. But because they gave up on life, they've lost this opportunity of them becoming somebody in future. And I'm asking myself, how many African children are we losing as a result of we not knowing better? And so this is the reason why we are on this journey doing advocacy and awareness through Africa Dyslexia Organization.
You have an incredible story, just an incredible story. And it really speaks to the idea that when people don't understand why you're struggling, they misperceive what the issue is. They attribute it to laziness. They attribute it to the fact that you're just not good academically, or you're just not good. And we know that that is a myth. And that's because your challenge was misunderstood. And there's so many misconceptions about dyslexia, and the fact that you got to be 17, 18 years old without being able to read and write. And then once you were able to figure out, what your challenge was, understand how to get support and the extent to which you'd have to work to overcome the struggles that you face, then you were able to really show others what you're able to do. But at the same time, when I think about you in that culinary school, it's like one person who believes in you can make a significant difference. One person who sees what you are able to do can make such an impression and be a motivating factor for you to continue to figure out why you're struggling, but also figure out where your place is and what your role will be in serving the community and serving the world. And it's wonderful that all those pieces came together for you.
Yes, you're so right. I'm so grateful for those people because I'm no different from all my other mates who are, some of them you ask about them, oh, this person, she's in a village, she has like 6 kids, she has a difficult living, even buying food. And I'm like, this shouldn't be the life of them. I was just lucky. I don't know if that's the word to use, but we have to stop this because there's so many that we will lose if we don't do something about it, to spread awareness, to provide teaching resources for teachers to be able to help our kids and to even believe in them, to let them know that you are wealthy. Yes.
Right. And we know that dyslexia is not a myth. And what we have to do is to ensure that people recognize dyslexia as a genuine challenge. And it sounds like what you have been doing, what your organization has been doing, is taking steps to prevent the wasting of valuable talents among dyslexic individuals. I mean, if someone chooses a particular career because that's what they want to do, then that is fine. But if they are in a career or doing something because they don't believe that they can do anything else, then that's a completely different story. And that's what it sounds like you're getting at.
Yes, absolutely. So teacher training is at the hallmark of what we're doing. The awareness piece and the advocacy piece, we're looking at it at the top level, like the ministries of education, when it comes to, so in my country, at least I use Ghana as an example, when it comes to inclusion is physical challenges and not any hidden challenges. And so it's so clear in our inclusive education policy where we talk about somebody with blindness, deafness, also visual impaired, deafness, or somebody who is having a challenge and is a wheelchair bound, then we acknowledge it, but not dyslexia, not a child struggling with dyscalculia or dyspraxia. And so one of the work we do is to engage ministries of education and really bring to light why it is important that we need to pay attention. Because if it says 1 in 5 is likely dyslexic, that means every classroom you enter, they are there. But you cannot tell me that you will enter every classroom and you meet a child with visual impairments there. You can't, but you find a dyslexic in every classroom from the very low level and to even a PhD level. There could be a dyslexic person. So why aren't we putting in strategies and measures to address these issues? And then if you look at the talent pool of dyslexics who are changing the world with innovative ideas and solutions to solve problems, you ask yourself, how many people are Africans? How many people are Black people? This is where the conversation has to start. And for us to immediately put actions in place to help our kids.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about inclusive education and expanding it to include, neurodivergent individuals, right? Because oftentimes we don't think about them in the conversation. And we need to create more inclusive environments in schools, in communities to ensure that children with dyslexia, children who learn and think differently have equal opportunities to learn and thrive. And I think, you're promoting awareness. We're promoting understanding of dyslexia. And what you are doing is you are promoting and advocating for individuals with dyslexia on a global scale, which is really significant. Are there challenges and successes that you've encountered in raising this awareness for dyslexia support in Africa and beyond?
Oh, the support. When we said the work, our journey, it was so hard. I approached first two organizations that I needed support to do this work. And they were like, one organization said, aren't you making excuses for lazy kids? And that really took me off. And then one was just like, we don't understand what you're doing. We don't think this is something viable. So since 2020, I decided, no, I don't need, it's not like I don't need funding. I needed the funding, but I didn't want to put myself out there to get these messages. Because as a dyslexic too, I've heard so much hateful words that any no in this present life become a challenge to me. Then I feel like I failed again. And so I decided that the past 3.5 years, I'll put my finances plus my friends and anybody who is good to come on board to do this work and to create that story and impact. Then we can use that to go and stand on and speak for. So now we have done that for the past 3.5 years. I mean, over 3,000 teachers plus our awareness reach and everything. This is the time that we're going out there to seek for corporate and individuals support to the work that we do. Another challenge that we face that for me breaks my heart is when parents don't think this is solvable, that my child can get out of this. I mean, a dyslexic, you're going to be dyslexic. That's what makes who you are. But they don't believe that it is possible. And when they think like this is something spiritual, it breaks my heart, because when the moment they try to shy away due to stigmatization, because the moment they are thinking it's spiritual, then stigmatization becomes a barrier. So then they don't want to accept for their children to even get the best support that they need. And this, it doesn't mean even about the education level of the person. I have met somebody who has like a master's degree and is in a very high public position whose child is dyslexic. And I'm almost calling every week, like, when are we getting your child for the intervention? Can we come for the child? And will read my message and still not say anything because he doesn't want to be labeled with dyslexia. So this is a huge challenge, the understanding of dyslexia and related learning difficulties on the continent is one big one that we really need to find a way of how to overcome it. The other thing also is reaching out to ministries in Africa. It is so difficult, but I think the answer is, if I'm facing difficulties with Ghana, It is the same because you write to a ministry of education in another country. What are you talking about? Nobody really understands. And so if your email or letter doesn't get into the right hand, it's like you're knocking and keep knocking and keep knocking, and nobody is opening the door. Yeah.
And, I love that you talked about the barriers to, increasing understanding and getting kids the support that they need, and that stigma is a barrier. When you believe that this is not solvable, or you believe that this is something spiritual going on, then you don't really believe that it's related to differences in the way the brain is organized, and that this is something that can be addressed through, evidence-based interventions. And so it seems like we're always kind of coming up against all of these barriers and all of these obstacles, and we have to kind of jump over them and plow through them with information and evidence and research and people whose lived experiences show what can be done, again, when appropriate support and intervention is given.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting to me, as I was reading about the work that you're doing, and I'm thinking about the work that you're doing on a global scale, and how much of the information that we need to share and the number of individuals that we need to support and really see is a global problem, right? It's not just a problem. There's not only dyslexic people in Ghana or in the United States or in Canada or in the Caribbean. I mean, they're everywhere, right? And there are individuals who are neurodivergent everywhere. And it reminds me of the United Nations, 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. One of their goals, I think it's goal 4, focuses specifically on education and aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, promoting lifelong learning opportunities for everyone, not just the individuals who can pass the tests and who easily can navigate through traditional learning environments. It's everyone. So it feels like the work that you do and the work that we're trying to do fits into that goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The way it is in the US is the way it is everywhere in the world. And so I remember recently somebody challenged me about what data are you working with? Because data is also another big thing that we don't really have here in Ghana or on the continent when it comes to dyslexia and related learning difficulty or neurodiversity in general. And so it is one of the arm of Africa Dyslexia Organization is to conduct research. We want to be known for an organization that provides teacher training, support, advocacy, and research. But we don't have the research yet, and we don't have the data yet. So we're depending on what the US is saying, 1 to 5, and the UK is saying 1 in 10. But then this person challenged me, you don't have the data you're working with. And I said, do you think the people who are living in US or UK are different from the people living in Africa? We are all human beings. And so when you say 1 to 5, there is likelihood it is the same on our continent here. Now let's go into the classroom and conduct screening if you will not find them. Without screening, teachers already know because they conduct exams. They already know which student that you teach 3-letter words for 100 times and they will still not get it. And what does that tell you? That tells you there is an issue that we need to address. So these are some of the things we face here.
So what I'm hearing is that there is a need to move from understanding and taking the research from the US, from the UK, from other countries, but also realizing, like you're saying, that this is a human problem. This impacts people globally. And that even in the US with the research, there are students who fall behind, students with dyslexia, with ADHD, autistic individuals who get missed, who don't get identified, who are misunderstood, and are not given the opportunity to reach their full potential. So I commend the work that you're doing. I stand with you in the work that you're doing because I know that we need to improve and promote literacy rates and skill development. We need to tear down the barriers faced by dyslexic individuals, by neurodivergent individuals, and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to access quality education and get the appropriate levels of support. And, I know that you work with Anna Moore, who does a lot of work in this space. And we're trying to do a lot of the things that you are doing beautifully, and just raising awareness, understanding, and connecting families with appropriate support for their kiddos. And collaboration is key, which is why I love that we're having this conversation, because we can't address the complex issues like dyslexia in the world alone. We need parents, we need educators, we need policymakers, we need organizations working together to effectively ensure that dyslexic individuals, neurodivergent individuals receive the support and opportunities that they deserve. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing and working toward.
Yes. I'm so happy to connect with you because, like I said before, I am not anywhere near an expert. I'm not an expert of dyslexia or neurodiversity. I am a person who is dyslexic. And I'm using my story, but I would need people like you, people like Anna, Jennifer, the many, many people who have embraced me and in this journey to keep moving the agenda forward. Wherever we are, it's now become like a talking point to me. Wherever I am, I'm talking about dyslexia. I don't leave anybody without saying, "Hey, dyslexia." So I'm so happy to meet you, and I look forward to what we could do together.
I am excited too, and I would argue that you are an expert in your dyslexia. And your lived experience gives you a perspective that many people, all people who do not have dyslexia, do not have. And that is so valuable. And so I'm so glad that we connected. I appreciate you being here today. If listeners want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about your organization, the work that you're doing, what is the best way for them to reach you?
So for the work we're doing, you could visit www.africadyslexia.org. And you get access to all our information there. If there is anything there or you didn't find anything and you would like to know more, you can reach me on Rosalin at africadyslexia.org. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey on LinkedIn. And you can get to interact with me.
Wonderful. And I will make sure I put links to all of that information in the show notes. Rosalin, thank you so much for being here. It's just a pleasure to know you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about Rosalin and the Africa Dyslexia Organization. And if you have a little one who seems to be struggling with reading or has been newly diagnosed with dyslexia, be sure to check out our mini courses for parents who want to be able to support and advocate for their child who is struggling with dyslexia. You can get that link in the show notes. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.